What do you do when the person you would have burned the world down for barely flinches as they walk out of your life? Do you send one more message just to be heard? Do you try to explain your pain, hoping they'll finally understand? Do you chase someone who already decided you're not worth staying for? Nope. You walk away, silently. No closure, no final text, no dramatic exit, because the most stoic, most powerful, most brutally unforgettable thing a man can do is leave without a word. It's not weakness, it's not avoidance, it's absolute control. See, most people don't understand this level of detachment. They think if you're silent, you're numb, that you're cold. But here's the truth. It takes immense strength to feel everything and still say nothing. It takes real discipline to stand in front of heartbreak, betrayal, humiliation, and not flinch, not fold, not break. She expected tears. She expected rage. She expected validation for the pain she caused. But when you give her nothing, not even a reaction, you starve the ego that fed off your love. And it's in that silence that she starts to feel the void, the absence, the mystery. She starts to wonder what you're thinking, who you're with, whether she made the right decision. You become the question she can't answer, the regret she can't shake. This isn't about getting revenge. This isn't about playing games. This is about choosing self-respect over self-destruction. This is about not handing someone who broke you the satisfaction of watching you fall apart. This is about becoming a man who doesn't chase validation, because he knows his value is never up for debate. Walking away silently doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you cared so deeply that you refused to let someone see you shattered. It means you're building in silence, healing in silence, rising in silence. Let them wonder. Let them miss you. Let them regret it in the silence you left behind. If you're done bleeding for people who wouldn't even notice if you disappeared, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My silence is my revenge. Ready? Let's begin. Number 1. She expected you to beg. She thought you'd fall apart, that you'd lose sleep, lose focus, lose your mind over her. She thought you'd hit rock bottom and come crawling back with desperate words and shaky hands. She expected you to spiral, to fall into the same pattern she's seen 100 times before, because she knew you loved her. She knew she had you emotionally, and in her mind, walking away would break you. That was the plan. She thought she was the storm. She thought you'd drown in her silence. But then, you did the one thing she didn't see coming. You said absolutely nothing. No arguments, no attempts to explain yourself, no chase, just silence, cold, clean, quiet. You left like a shadow disappears at sunrise. You gave her no closure, no final conversation, no moment of control. You just walked away, with your dignity intact and your head high. And that, right there, is where the power shifted. Because when someone expects you to break and you don't, they break. When someone tries to bait you into chaos and you don't bite, they spiral. She expected drama. She expected emotion. She wanted tears, tension, anything to confirm she still mattered. But you robbed her of the one thing she craved the most, your attention. See, begging gives her power. It tells her she was right to leave because now she's in control. But silence? Silence says you never needed her in the first place, that you're not just okay, you're untouchable. It makes her question everything. Did I really mean that much to him? Was I wrong about who he was? Why doesn't he care? And those questions eat away at her. While you're out there stacking wins in silence, rebuilding in the dark, and becoming stronger than ever, she's stuck wondering why her absence didn't shake your world. That's how you flip the script. Not by yelling, not by posting cryptic quotes, not by trying to show her you're happy, just by being. Stoicism isn't about suppressing your pain. It's about owning it, privately, quietly, powerfully. It's about turning heartbreak into fuel and rejection into redirection. No theatrics, no explanations, just growth. So let her keep refreshing her messages, waiting for the apology that never comes. Let her stalk your silence like it owes her something, because the more you say nothing, the louder it gets inside her head. Number 2, detachment is the highest form of strength. They'll call you heartless, cold, emotionally unavailable, because they don't understand the kind of strength it takes to detach. Real detachment isn't numbness. It's not giving up on love or pretending nothing matters. It's knowing exactly how much something meant to you and still choosing to let it go because your peace costs more than any temporary feeling. That's not weakness. That's warriorship. See, most people react. They get triggered. They lash out. They say things they can't take back. But you step back. You observe. You feel every cut, every betrayal, every wave of heartbreak, and then you let it pass without letting it poison you. You control the fire instead of letting it burn everything down. She expected you to hold on, to make excuses for her behavior, to hope she'd come back. But detachment is the ultimate plot twist. When you stop hoping for closure, stop checking her social media, stop looking for signs that she still cares. When you detach, you take all the power back. You're no longer at the mercy of her decisions. You're no longer waiting to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. Stoicism teaches that the only thing truly in our control is how we respond. Detachment is not turning off your emotions. It's mastering them. It's standing in the middle of emotional chaos and not flinching. When you walk away without a word and without a grudge, you're not proving how little she meant. You're proving how much you matter. Because your energy isn't free, your presence isn't for those who waste it, and your peace is no longer up for negotiation. The truth is, when she sees you detach, it shakes her, because it means she no longer has emotional leverage over you. You're not mad, you're not sad, you're just gone, and that absence hits harder than anger ever could. It tells her that whatever you had, you've already made peace with losing it. That's the kind of man she'll remember. The one who didn't flinch, the one who didn't need to shout to be heard, the one who didn't need to be chased because he was already too far ahead. Number 3, emotionless is not weak, it's calculated. There's this lie people love to tell, that if you don't show emotion, you must not care. That if you're calm, you're cold. That silence means emptiness. Nope, emotionless doesn't mean you're hollow. It means you're in control. It means you refuse to hand someone else the remote to your mental state, and that scares them, especially when they expect chaos. She wanted to see the wreckage. She wanted proof that she mattered, that her absence hurt, that her words had weight. But when you don't react, when you give her nothing but quiet strength, it messes with her head. Suddenly, she's the one unraveling, because you're not giving her anything to work with. No outburst, no anger, no breakdown, just presence, just stillness. And stillness, when used right, is lethal. You weren't emotionless because you didn't feel. You were emotionless because you didn't fold. You took all that pain and channeled it inward, into discipline, into work, into purpose. You chose progress over pity. You chose self-mastery over emotional leakage. That's what Stoicism demands. Not to feel less, but to never be ruled by what you feel. Let her call you heartless. Let her say you don't care, because one day she'll realize you cared so deeply that you had to go silent to survive. That the silence wasn't indifference, it was damage control. You didn't explode because you already knew she wasn't worth the mess. You didn't argue because you were already building something bigger than her apology could fix. You were calculated, focused, locked in. The man who stays calm in the storm isn't weak. He is the storm. And when she finally realizes that you didn't need to react to win, that you didn't need to prove your worth with words or pain, it'll haunt her, because nothing is more threatening to someone's ego than a man they couldn't break, even when they gave it everything they had. Number 4, you teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. Here's a brutal truth. Every time you stay silent about disrespect, every time you let something slide that cuts you deep, every time you stick around after being lied to, ignored, or manipulated, you're teaching them something. You're showing them what you're willing to accept, and people will always test the limits you refuse to set. She didn't suddenly start treating you like you didn't matter. That shift happened over time. Little things, missed calls, disrespect disguised as jokes, moments where she pulled away and you chased harder. She learned that no matter what she did, you'd stay, that you'd rationalize it, forgive it, tolerate it. And the more you tolerated, the less she respected you. Because deep down, people don't value what's always available, especially when it ignores its own value just to stay. But when you walk away without warning, when you go ghost, not out of spite but out of principle, it hits differently. Because now the rules have changed. The guy who once tolerated everything is gone. The version of you that begged for crumbs has been buried, and all that's left is a man who finally drew the line and vanished behind it. That silence you gave her, that wasn't a tantrum. It was a message. It said, "You crossed a line. You showed me who you really are, and I choose not to play dumb about it anymore." No confrontation, no shouting match, just the quiet understanding that you will no longer tolerate disrespect disguised as love. And here's what makes it sting even more. Once you stop tolerating what once kept you stuck, she has to live with the fact that someone else will get the best version of you, the healed version, the version that learned. And she'll remember that she had a chance, and she blew it. You don't get treated poorly just because someone's cruel. You get treated poorly because you never said, "This is the end." And sometimes the most powerful no is a silent exit. Number 5, her ego was fed by your reaction. Every time you argued with her, she won. Every time you tried to explain yourself, to prove your love, to show how much it hurt, you were feeding her ego. She didn't need to win the fight. She didn't need to be right. She just needed to know she still had you on a string. And your reaction, your pain, your desperate attempts to make sense of her chaos, those were her trophies. Because when someone has power over your emotions, they don't need to lift a finger to control you. All they have to do is pull away a little and you come running. Go cold for a few hours and you're in her inbox pouring your heart out. She didn't need to do anything heroic. Your reaction did all the work. But when you stopped reacting, when you didn't reply, didn't ask, didn't chase, everything changed. Now she's not sure where she stands. Now the validation is gone. And that silence, that calm, calculated silence, it starves her ego until it starts to collapse under its own weight. See, attention is a drug, and she was addicted to the version of you that overdosed on her, the version that couldn't sit in silence, the version that needed her to feel okay. But when you chose distance over drama, when you broke the pattern, it exposed everything. Because the man who doesn't react can't be controlled. It's not that you don't feel, it's that you finally realized not every feeling deserves a response, that some people only push buttons to confirm they still work. And when you stop responding, they start to panic, because now they're no longer in control of the story. Her ego? It was never fed by love, it was fed by chaos. And now that you've gone still, she's starving. Number 6. Power lies in what you don't say. Words can be weapons, but silence? Silence is nuclear. See, people prepare for arguments. They rehearse comebacks. They build defenses. But no one's ready for silence. No one's ready for the absence of closure. No one knows what to do when the person they hurt simply says nothing. She expected you to explode, to call her out, to ask questions, demand reasons, get answers. She wanted the drama. It would have given her something to hold on to, something to twist, something to use against you. Because the second you speak out of pain, you give her ammo. You give her a script where she gets to be the victim and you become the emotional wreck. But when you stay silent, she has nothing, no reaction, no weakness, no proof. Silence is power because it forces people to sit with what they've done, without distraction. It's the difference between walking out the door and slamming it behind you versus leaving it open just enough to let the cold in. Silence lingers. It echoes in their mind. It plays over and over like a song with no lyrics, just tension. You didn't ghost her to be cruel. You went silent to protect your energy, to hold your ground. Because when you don't explain yourself, when you don't justify your worth, when you walk away without a sound, you declare that your peace speaks louder than any excuse ever could. She doesn't get the comfort of knowing what you think. She doesn't get the satisfaction of hearing that you miss her. All she gets is the silence she created and now has to live with. That's what makes it powerful. Because in that silence, her mind becomes her punishment. Every scenario, every doubt, every regret. That's the price of playing with someone who knows when to say nothing. Number 7, when you leave in silence, you haunt them. You don't haunt her by yelling. You don't haunt her by posting quotes or dropping hints online. You haunt her by disappearing. Quietly, completely. No explanation, no warning. Just gone. And the scariest part? She doesn't know why. She doesn't know what you're thinking, what you're doing, or who you've become without her. That mystery, that's what lingers. Because the man who argues still cares. The man who begs still hopes. But the man who walks away in silence, he's finished. And when she realizes there's no more access to your world, no more emotional leverage, no more late-night guilt trips, no more drama to stir up, panic sets in. Not because she lost you, but because she doesn't know what you've turned into without her. Silence makes you unforgettable. It turns you into a question she can't answer. Every time her phone lights up and it's not you, every time she opens social media and you're not there, every quiet moment in her day, you're in it. Not because you're speaking, but because you're not. That's what haunts people, not the loud exits, but the ones that say nothing. The exits that leave a vacuum, the ones that feel like a ghost walked out and took all the air with him. She won't admit it. She might pretend she's fine, but deep down, that silence will keep her up at night. It'll have her scrolling through old messages, replaying old conversations, wondering where it went wrong, and why you didn't even need a goodbye. You don't haunt her with presence. You haunt her with absence. Because nothing messes with a person more than being erased like they never mattered, especially by someone they thought would never leave. Number 8. Peace over closure. Everyone says they need closure. They chase it like it's the missing piece to their healing. But here's the truth. Closure is a trap. It's a myth we cling to so we can delay the pain of acceptance. You don't need closure. You need peace. And sometimes, the only way to get it is to walk away without answers, without understanding, without the final conversation you thought you deserved. She might have ended it without explanation. Maybe she left you with vague words, half-truths, or complete silence, and everything inside you screamed for clarity, for fairness, for one last moment to make sense of it all. But that moment never came, and it probably never will. And that's the point. Stoicism doesn't ask you to understand why it ended. It asks you to accept that it did. Peace begins the second you stop waiting for someone else to give it to you. It begins when you say, I don't need her apology to move forward. I don't need her guilt. I don't need her to see what she lost. You give yourself the closure by refusing to let her choices control your next move. She expected you to hold on to the pain, to keep circling back, to need that final talk, but when you chose peace over closure, you broke the cycle. You sent the message loud and clear. You don't get to break me and then decide when I'm healed. That's power. That's emotional freedom. And the irony, that's when closure usually comes, when you stop needing it. Because now she's the one left with questions. She's the one stuck replaying everything, wondering how you walked away so calmly, wondering how you found peace without her. You don't get closure from a conversation. You get it from a decision. You get it when you stop waiting to be understood and start choosing to understand yourself. Number 9. You are the storm when you don't chase. You were never weak for caring. You were just misdirected, giving strength to someone who couldn't hold it. But the moment you stopped chasing, the moment you chose stillness over pursuit, everything changed. Because silence doesn't mean surrender, it means transformation. And when you stop chasing, you stop being predictable, you stop being controllable, you stop being safe for her ego. You become the storm. The kind of man who doesn't chase is the kind of man who makes people nervous, because they don't know what he's thinking, where he's going, or who he's becoming. He's a moving force, he's untrackable, he's dangerous in the best way, because he's free, and freedom is terrifying to anyone who thought they owned you emotionally. She expected the pattern. Leave, and you'd follow. Hurt you, and you'd explain. Ghost you for days, and you'd still be there when she came back around. But not this time, because this time you realized your value isn't in how hard you chase, it's in how hard you don't. And now, the roles have flipped. You're no longer the man orbiting her world. You're your own world now, and she's the one wondering, what changed? You did. You stopped reacting. You stopped reaching. You stopped being the man who gave his heart to someone who only fed off the chase. You don't need to chase what doesn't value you. You don't need to run after someone who ran from themselves. And the second you understand that, really understand it, you become untouchable. Because now your silence is momentum, your distance is discipline, your disappearance. That's the storm she never saw coming. Number 10. The silent man always wins in the end. At first, silence looks like loss. It looks like weakness to the loud, the needy, the insecure. She thought your silence meant she won, that you didn't know what to say, that you were broken, defeated, done. But what she didn't realize is, your silence was never surrender, it was strategy, and the man who can control his voice, his reactions, and his presence, that man always wins in the end. Because while she was looking for proof that you cared, you were outgrowing the version of yourself that ever needed her validation. While she was trying to trigger a response, you were working in the dark, evolving, leveling up. While she was playing games, you were building a future so far removed from her chaos that one day she'll look you up and won't even recognize the man you've become. The silent man wins because he doesn't waste time proving himself to people who lost the right to access him. He doesn't need revenge, attention, or recognition. He lets the results speak. He lets his peace become his proof. He disappears from the noise and returns with presence so strong it no longer needs an introduction. And when she does come back, and believe me, she will, it won't be because you chased her. It'll be because your absence became louder than her pride. Your silence became impossible to ignore. And in that moment, she'll realize the man who walked away without a word never needed her to hear him to be heard. You don't win with rage. You don't win by proving points. You win by walking away, rebuilding in silence, and becoming everything they never thought you'd become without them. Let her remember you as the one who didn't flinch, didn't beg, didn't break. Let her sit with the silence she created. Let her regret it, quietly. Because in the end, the man who says nothing is the man she'll never forget. So now you know, the most stoic thing you can do isn't to fight. It's not to argue. It's not to explain yourself to someone who already chose to misunderstand you. The most stoic thing you can do is walk away silently. No noise, no drama, no warning. Just the cold, clean decision to protect your peace and never look back. Because silence isn't weakness, it's not avoidance, it's dominance, it's discipline, it's the ultimate form of self-respect. And in a world where everyone's desperate to be heard, the man who doesn't speak becomes the loudest presence in the room. Let them wonder, let them regret, let them sit in the silence they never thought would echo this loud. Now it's your move. Rebuild in silence, elevate without announcement. Let the world feel your absence before they see your return. If this hit you where it needed to, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're walking into your next chapter without baggage. Turn on notifications so you never miss a message meant to sharpen you, and drop it in the comments one last time. The quiet ones conquer. This is Stoic Blessing. I'll see you in the next one. Stay solid, stay silent, stay untouchable.